Well, the names on the side of the building may be different, but it's the exact same Trumpian crap. Doge illegally entering an agency after they were denied access. This time, it's even more outrageous. Doge actually entered the offices of an organization that is not a federal agency. And to make matters worse, the DC Metro Police allowed them access. Do you know who Muriel Bowser is? Because after this story, you're going to want to call her office and voice your outrage that she allowed the Washington, D.C. District Police to actually allow Doge in, to give Doge access. Yes, that's right. It's a little unbelievable that the mayor of DC has not left more specific instructions that DC Metro Police, frequently referred to as District Police, should be called when Doge is trespassing, and that the District Police should hold their ground until there is a court order. And yet the opposite happened. Doge came banging on the door of the U.S. Institute of Peace on Monday, but this time the District Police caved and allowed them access. And why? That's an answer that needs to be given. They were called by the brave employees of the U.S. Institute for Peace, who stood up to Doge and refused to give them access when they tried to enter the week before. Yeah, that's right. The peace people told Doge to take a freaking hike. And why were the USIP people so courageous? Well, two reasons. First, in general, you find the people who work for peace have an abundance of courage, but also for legal reasons. As CNN reports, USIP is not a federal agency. It was created by Congress as a nonpartisan, independent body in 1984, and USIP owns and manages its headquarters. Doge is already illegal, but they doubled down by trying to gain access to an organization that is not a federal agency and owns its own headquarters. Watch this.
Employees of our building are not federal employees, executive branch employees. They are employees of the Institute. We have our own separate board. We have our own bypass authority to go directly to Congress in order to get our money. Somehow, all of those arguments have not prevailed in the conversations we've been having with Doge.
Trump and his goons have already tried to dismantle the agency. According to CNN, the White House said last week that they were terminating most of the board of directors, including Trump's former ambassador of Russia. Then 3 remaining board members, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, and some other no-name, said they were removing the acting president of USIP, Ambassador George Moose. And while it's true that under the USIP Act, the bipartisan board of directors is appointed by the president, those appointments require Senate confirmation. Trump's ability to fire is dubious at best. Well, the United States Peace Institute is fighting back. Don't mess with peace, people. CNN is reporting that the U.S. Institute of Peace has already filed suit against the Trump administration. Watch.
Now the Institute has filed a lawsuit after the attempted Doge takeover. So there are questions here over whether the administration actually has the authority over this independent nonprofit. Help us make sense of this lawsuit.
Yeah, those questions are going to be central to a hearing that's actually taking place this afternoon. This lawsuit was just filed, but very quickly, the judge in this case, Judge Beryl Howell, a federal district judge who serves in Washington, D.C., another appointee of former President Obama, has set a hearing on plaintiffs' request to block Doge's takeover for this afternoon. So we could actually get a ruling as soon as today answering that question, at least an initial ruling on whether Doge's takeover attempt here is legal.
There is no doubt but that the court is going to side with USIP. Beryl Howell, the federal judge who does not put up with Trump's BS. She's the judge who wrote in a decision against Trump that a U.S. president is not a king. Then, of course, this is going to be yet another case of whether the Trump administration will comply with a court order. Certainly, Caroline Leavitt is going to get into a snit that this is an activist judge. But this issue throws into the spotlight 2 key issues. First of all, why is the Secretary of Defense on the board of the U.S. Institute of Peace? That's at cross purposes. There's no way they should be on the board, whether it's Hegseth or anybody else. It's a conflict of interest. The nation's top diplomat, the Secretary of State, is understandable. Diplomacy instead of armed conflict is always the top priority. Well, except for Trump. And a think tank that can deliver ideas is key. But the Secretary of Defense, if anything, the Secretary of Defense has a keen interest in peace not working. The other key issue is the one I touched on. How in the world can the Metro Police yield on a trespassing issue? This is private property, and it cannot be given access by board members who, by definition, lack executive power. If anything, the police should even stand off against marshals when it's a question of access to private property. Without a signed judicial order, Metro Police should be the backbone against these federal excesses. This was clearly not an emergency, and Trump did not make the request to Bowser. So the question remains, how were Trump goons given access? Why did Metro Police basically stand aside? And what are they going to do when things really start spinning out of control with this administration? Mayor Bowser, that's a question you need to answer. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.